Governor Hill. That's nice. Got it. Do you have a pillow for the back here? Something for a round pillow or a square pillow? Something. Jai Shadamadhoma Kunyabihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa also Teta such as Shimad, Divine Grace, Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta, Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Vedas Thakur Ki Jai, Rem Se Kaho, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shyam Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Machuradam Ki Jai, Jagadata Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda, Hari 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 Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Budle Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunya Vadi Paschatya Deshatarni. So, we are reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 25th chapter, text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shila Prashati Vatena Anyamanam Chetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritang Hari Shila Varshati Vatena Anyamanam Chetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritam Hare Shila Varshati Vatena Anyamanam Chetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritang Hare Shila Varshati Vatena Anyamanam Chetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Kupitendra Kritam Hare. Okay.
Shila Varsati Vatena Anyamanam Chetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Upendra Kritam Hari
Shila Varsati Vatena Ayamanam Chetanam Niriksha Bhagavan Mene Upendra Kritam Hari.
Ladies?
अन्यमानम् अचेतनम् निरीक्ष्य भगवान् मे कुपितेन्द्रकृतं हरिः
Okay. Shila
शिला
of hailstones.
hailstone
Varshab
वर्षा
by the rain.
by the rain
Atibhatena
अतिवातेन
and by the extreme wind.
by the stream
Hanyamanam
अन्यमानम्
being attacked.
being attacked
Achetanam
चेतनम्
unconscious. Niriksha seen. Bhagavan
भगवान्
the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉड
Mene considers. Kupata angry.
angry
Indra by Indra. Kritam done. Hari Lord Hari.
Lord Hari
So translation, seeing the inhabitants of his Gokula rendered practically unconscious by the onslaught of hail and blasting wind, the Supreme Lord Hari understood that this was the work of angry Indra. So, purport, this purport is by the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the severe distress Indra apparently inflicted upon the residents of Vrindavan was an arrangement made by Sri Krishna's pastime potency to enhance the loving dealings between the residents and the Lord. The Acharya gives the analogy that for a hungry person, the pain of hunger increases the happiness he feels when he finally eats excellent food. And thus hunger can be said to enhance the pleasure of eating. Similarly, the residents of Vrindavan, although not experiencing ordinary material anxiety, felt a type of distress at the activities of Krishna and thus intensified their meditation on Krishna. When the Lord finally acted, the result was wonderful. So again, the verse. Shilavarshati vatena hanyamanam chetanam Aniriksha bhagavan mene kupitendra kritam harihi. So, Omagana Timirandasya Gananjana Shilakya Chakshunum Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So, two topics I'd like to talk about in regard to this verse. One is Kupitendra Kritam Hari, which means Indra was angry at Krishna. And the other one was Hanyamana Achetana, which means basically they became without consciousness. So these are the two topics here. So, first we'll talk about the topic about Indra's anger. Now, Indra is a devotee. And Indra is what we call a Sakama devotee. That means he's a devotee with some desire. And there's actually two types, we were talking about this yesterday, two types of Sakama devotees. One devotee wants karma, and the other devotee wants jnana. So what does that mean? One devotee wants to enjoy things of this world. So he thinks Krishna's the order supplier, and my worship of Krishna is going to give me whatever I want. Krishna will make me happy. It's Krishna's business to make me happy. It's Krishna's business to give me something to eat. It's Krishna's business. And if he doesn't, I get angry. So Indra was that type of Sakama devotee. Because he, not only was he a devotee of Krishna, but he had Krishna as his younger brother. What was the younger brother of Krishna, of Indra, known as? Upendra, right? So not only was he a devotee, but he was daily worshiping Upendra, his younger brother, who was Krishna. And he had great association. And of course, Prahlad Maharaj talks about this in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Matirna Krishna Padatos Vatova Vitobit Padyetu Raha Vratanam Ananta Gopir Vishatam Tamekshram Punas Char Vita Charvananam. What does that verse say? Matirna Krishna, that if one doesn't want Krishna, in other words, one wants to enjoy this world, Padatos Vatova, that in spite of having good association, which Indra had, because he's taken a vow. This is an interesting word, Graha Vrata. Of course, that means a vow, Grihamedi Vrata. I'm just expanding the word there. Grihamedi Vrata, that he's taken a vow just to be led around by his nose, by material desires. Like Medi is like a bull, Grihamedi. So there's two types of married people. They're Grahastas and Grihamedis. Grahastas are serving Krishna, dedicated to being Krishna conscious, and Grihamedis are like being led by their senses around. So we have to see who is a Grihamedi here. We will go around and test everybody. Like I can see it. Achyuta and Sundari, they're Grahastas. Because they're serving the deities, they're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And Grihamedi, they're up until midnight. And they wipe their eyes at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right? And then they drink their coffee. Then they do their puja for Krishna. And then they go to work. So that's Grihamedi. So, Graha Vratanam. Vrata, actually the word vrata means vow. Like you have in Hindi, you say vrat. But in Sanskrit, we say vrata. You understand? Just put an A there. It means one's taken a firm vow. Like when one takes initiation, one takes a firm vow. What is it when one takes a firm vow to follow the 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds? So when one is a Grihamedi, they take a firm vow, the purpose of our life is to enjoy our senses. And that's called Ananda Gopir, the next part of the verse. Ananda Gopir. Gopir means not gopi. Ananda Gopir. That's funny. Gopir means senses. Like Krishna is Gopal. You understand? Or you have Govardhan, Gopal, Govinda, you understand, the pleaser of the senses, the lord of the senses. Of course, there's also Rishikesh, which means the proprietor of the senses, but that's a different word. So Adanta Gopir, Vishatam. So because they have uncontrolled senses, what? Vishatam, Tamishram. What does Tamishram mean? Ignorance. Like we have the modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance. Vishatam means to enter. Adanta Gopir, because they have uncontrolled senses. Vishatam, Tamishram. They enter into ignorance. And therefore, they're so foolish that they Punas Charvita Charvananam. I think most of you know that. They're chewing the already chewed. In spite of having good instruction, good association, it doesn't do them any good. It's like, here this fly is flying around me. Hopefully, if I'm good association, he has good association. He's been landing on me, see? Touch my feet, everything. See him? You can see him? One of my disciples who just had uncontrolled senses, just said, Guru Maharaj, you accept me back again? And I said, no, you have to take a human birth. Just eat some, go over to the Charnamrita, take some Charnamrita, and then go take a human being birth the next life. So, Tamishram, and then Purnas Charvita Charna. No. So there's Indra. in this particular case. I mean, not some Indras are like real Nishkam devotees, which means no material desires, and some are Sakam devotees, but he's Sakam. So therefore he keeps doing the same thing. Just like the story, so many stories about Indra, like Indra and Ahalya. I think you all know that because you're devotees of the Ramayana. Indra sees this beautiful girl. He has so many beautiful girls in the spiritual world. Not spiritual, sorry. Material world, the heavenly planets. So many. He has Urvasi there. You know, who's going to be better than Urvasi? Urvasi came from Krishna, Narayan Rishis, right? You know the story? Indra thought he would make Narayan Rishis fall down, so he sends all these dancing girls. And Narayan Rishi, who is incarnation of Krishna and Arjuna, says, yawns, and he says, here, I'll produce more for you. Take one home. And that was Urvasi. So Indra has this Urvasi. I mean, Urvasi is just like, wow. I mean, so many people just faint when they say, you man, if Urvasi came down here, you would just like, oh. Your mouth would be open, you'd be rolling on the ground in ecstasy, foam would be coming from your mouth. All the symptoms of Sanchari Bhava would be manifest in your bodies. So Indra has that there, and all these other girls, you know, there's so many in the heavenly planets. Nobody is ugly in the heavenly planets. Nobody is old in the heavenly planets. Pretty good, isn't it? Pretty good. Oh, okay. Good to see everybody. So, but still Indra is looking at Ahalya and thinking, oh, she's nice. It's just like you change the bottle and you put the same wine in different bottles. That's really what chewing the chewed is. You put, isn't it? Like Prabhupada said, different wine, different bottles. Anyway, so, not that you should be drinking wine. So then he comes down, and he just looks so adharmic because of that lust. That's tamishram. Tamishram means lust, anger, greed, all these things. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajaguna. You see this? Because from lust comes what? Krodha. Anger. So he comes down, makes himself look like Gautama Rishi, and he says, hi, Priya, it's me. And she's guilty because she knows it's not her husband. Because her husband doesn't approach in a lusty way. She's also at fault. Some of you read the Ramayana and think, oh, this poor girl, she didn't do anything wrong. No, completely wrong. The explanation is that she was thinking, oh, I got Indra now. So even though she's married to this great guy, Gautama Rishi, right? She thinks so. I can always say I was innocent because I didn't know. You know, isn't it? Sometimes we try to excuse our bad behavior. We know, but we say we didn't know. Oh, was that actually Indra? I didn't know. You know, imagine, you know, your husband comes one day, you know, looks exactly the same, but he acts differently. You know, let's say, Sandra, if your husband came and said, let's go to the restaurant and eat some meat today. Would you follow him? You say, you're not my husband. But because she's also overcome by lust, thinking that there's different wine in a different bottle. It's like that. People are so romantic. You know, someone has one wife and he wants to have 3 or 4 girlfriends or something like that. What's the difference? Isn't it? It's all in the mind. All this sense gratification is in the mind. It has nothing to do with reality. It's just the mind. Manasakshani, Indriyani. There's that my disciple again. Prakriti Stani Karshati. That's right, leave him. It's his bhakti. So, yeah, I mean, it's completely insane. It's all the mind. All of our attachment to everything in this world is in the mind. You're wanting variety in the mind. Just like Prabhupada gives the example of the man who sat down in the movie theater, saw a beautiful girl sitting next to him, and then the lights went down, and he felt the hand on his knee, and he was getting really excited. Lights came up, and he found out an old man had sat in her place. It's all the mind. As Baba told that story, he said, don't blame me for it. Just close your eyes and just imagine, That's why you don't have to go on vacation anywhere. You want to go to Sydney, just close your eyes and imagine you're at the Harbour Bridge, And that's where you are. Isn't it? The mind is like that. It's like nowadays they have, these virtual reality goggles. I mean, you've never heard of this before. Where they put it on and it's like you're in a place, but you're not actually in a place. Same thing, it's all the mind. When you travel at the speed of the mind. So anyway, getting back to the story of Indra. So Indra, he has a relationship with Ahalya. Then Gautama Rishi comes back, finds himself there in two places. And he says, who are you? He says, you're Indra. And he curses him. And Ahalya is guilty too. And Indra's guilty. But still he doesn't learn his lesson. He gets cursed in such a way that he loses his ability to have relationships. Part of his body is cut off. And then he asks the demigods to attach an animal part to his body. He's still so lusty. I mean, there's so many stories like that in the Vedic literatures. There's the story of Yati. Everybody knows the story of Yati? Yati and Devyani. I'm not going to tell the whole story, don't worry. So Yati, he has a relationship with his wife's friend, Devyani. What is her name? Sarmishta. And Devyani, his wife, gets upset, goes to her father. Father curses him to be an old man. And the wife goes to her father, who was Sukracharya, and says, you can't do that to my husband. We have all these lusty desires. But they've been lusty for 100 years, you don't lose it. And father says, okay, you can have one of his children exchange their youth for his old age. Okay, he goes around to all his children, they all refuse except for one, Puru. And he's very happy for another 100,000 years. Takes him 100,000 years to realize it's just old wine in new bottles. Imagine 100 years of Punas Charvi to Charvana, Finally he realizes, tells his wife, oh, we're like a bunch of goats. She said, yeah, you're right. And they all take sannyasa and run across or something. It's amazing that Purnas Charvi to Charvana, isn't it? I mean, how many times do we try to enjoy the senses? Adanta Gopir Vishatam Mishram. Isn't it? How many meals have we eaten? You could probably fill up this whole room with the food that I've eaten throughout my whole life. Isn't it? It's amazing. It's amazing. Still, we're just looking forward to breakfast this morning. Of course, prasad, that's nice. Without prasad, there's no taste. So that's okay. We have an excuse. So when your senses don't get satisfied, when one's hungry, for example, they get very angry. Sometimes I'm talking to someone, maybe one of my godbrothers, and I sense he's a little angry, and I said, let me wait until after you eat. There's this saying in Spanish, barriga llena, corazón contenta. One who has a full stomach has the heart is content. But then the stomach becomes empty again, and he goes for the same thing. Again and again and again. It's called chewing the chew. So anyway, so Indra is subject to that because he's Sakama devotee. There's no satisfaction. Bhukti, mukti, siddhikam, sakale ashanta, Krishna bhakta nishkam, adaiva shanta. That's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a Bengali. Whether one wants that, bhukti, means karma, something in the material world, or even liberation, your mind is always going to be disturbed. And that means anger. Anger is a symptom of frustration of your desires. So what was Indra's desire in this particular case? It wasn't after a lady, obviously. But he was after something called PAD. Profit, adoration, distinction. It's called Pod. So if I had the name Guru Pod. Anyway, it was interesting. Just a little history, ISKCON history for you. When Prabhupada left the planet, every guru had to have a Pod or a Dev name. You understand? So everybody, to keeping up with the pods. This is not a criticism of anyone, but it was just a play on words. So, when I started taking disciples, I said, well, I need a pod name too. I even forgot what name they gave me. Because but it wasn't pod. Anyway, yes it was. It was Shripad. So there was Shripad, Gurupad, not Prabhupada, that was already taken. Me-pod, you-pod, Padapad, So that was called keeping up with the pods. So anyway, it's not that... Oh my God, I can't believe what I said. But so anyway, so getting back to the point, so pod could sometimes means, not in the case of a group, but it means profit, adoration, distinction, which is called subtle sex life. You understand? There's gross means, physical, with pancha mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then there's mind, intelligence, false ego. That's subtle, that you want to be appreciated, you want to be worshipped. Like Indra, this whole Indra puja was that Indra wanted to be worshipped. And so if one gets their, as they say, kicks out of being worshipped, you have that expression here? No, in America we have this. He gets his kicks out of something, his pleasure. That's a fancy word, a slang word for pleasure. So one gets his pleasure from being worshipped, and he doesn't get his worship. Just like if the guru sits and I didn't get my guru puja today, I'm feeling all depressed. That's ignorance also. You didn't offer me the right type of food this morning. So that's also, desire for worship, which is actually detrimental to someone who has a position. Even your friend Ravan, he would always brag, right? What do you say? Lankapati. So I was in Lambasa one year for Ramnami, and one devotee, Jai Jagadish, was playing Ravan. He was really good. He's the best Ravan I've ever seen. He said, Lankapati, this pati, that pati, Sitapati. So he was... So that's what happens in this world. We want to be the pati of everyone. So at least you can be the pati of your wife. You know, you got one person who can worship you. Isn't it? Just like the husband is called what? Pati Dev in Sanskrit. The wife is Priya, the husband is Pati Dev. Or Swami. It's interesting. They also, the name in Sanskrit for husband is Swami. The wife calls the husband Swami. Isn't it? Swami, what do you want? I want bring my shoes. Bow down. I'm your husband. You ever see men like that? I have. I say it in Fiji. And the boss, they expect the wife to be like the dog, put the shoes in the mouth and bring it to the husband. So, even that's bad. You should think, if people are married, they're both supposed to serve each other in Krishna consciousness. Not that the man has a first-class servant. Because that's usually an illusion. The sweet words come before the marriage. After that, you find out what someone's actually like. Anyway, so that's a sannyas perspective. So, but anyway, we shouldn't want to be worshipped by anybody. This desire for worship and respect is poison. It's poison. And if one has a position, one has to be very careful about it. Like Indra. Careful, Indra. Because Prabhupada said, if you take a position, that tendency is there. Prabhupada's quote, if you go to Lanka, you become Ravan. So if you become, in management, business, just like I've seen in certain big companies, there's one person I'm thinking of, I'm not going to mention the name, a big company, he's not a devotee. He's a big, he's in charge of this country, he's one of the richest people in the world. And he's just like having relationships with different women. I mean, it's just like Indra. So we have to be careful in spiritual life that when we have a position, we become either a preacher, guru, president, whatever you become, GBC, whatever, that we don't expect amanina manadena. We don't expect any respect, and we offer respect to others. So according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the main problems of advancement in spiritual life it is that people, can I have some water? Honey, please. Oh, it's here. Okay, could you please pour it? Not that I'm the boss. Pour the water, disciple. Bow down. Dhanabats, Prabhu. Wash my feet. Not now. Don't wash my feet now. That would be a mistake. So, one has to think, I am his servant. Anyway, it happens in the morning when you get older, not in the afternoon. So one should think, I'm serving him. And I should think of his welfare. What's best for him? And when I ask him to do something, it should be a request, not a demand. That's really important in all of our relationships. We should never demand something of anyone. We should say, if you're willing to do it with a devotional mood. Like, I don't want anyone to cook for me unless they actually want to do it with a devotional mood. If they're doing it for money, I'll cook for myself. Like that. Like last night we had a very nice dinner. It was done with a devotional mood, and I could taste it. It was very nice. I was in ecstasy. And I ate more. And if it's not cooked with a devotional mood, I don't want to eat it. So we should approach the other devotees if we're managing. Because what is the use of someone doing service if they're doing it in a resentful mood, a forceful mood, and we're in an angry mood that they have to do it? Then we're like just like Indra. And if we don't get it, we get angry. You know, Jayato Vishapum Sangu Station Vijayate, Sangat Sanjayate Kama, Kama Krodha Vijayate. From unfulfilled, subtle lust, profit, adoration, distinction, anger arises. Right? So when you see anger, of course, anger can sometimes be used. But if one is controlled by anger, that's a different thing. I mean, Prabhupada would get angry if someone spoke nonsense. But he wasn't angry, he expressed anger. You know, he wasn't controlled by anger. It wasn't like 10 minutes later he was just like shaking with anger. Like when we get angry, then it takes like 3 days before you calm down. Right? Someone comes to you and says, "Can I speak to you?" "Give me some time, Prabhu. I'm angry." I'm in my Ravana mood right now. So 2 days later, you give him some prasadam, some sweets, okay. It's like, we see actually in people who are very much prone to anger, they go in cycles. They're angry, and then sometimes they're sweet as a sweet ball. So it's like that. So we should just be approaching others in a loving mood. Would you like to do this for Krishna? And in dealing with children could be the same. Now that I'm your mother, you have to do what I say, because if you don't, you get a spanking. Everything has to be done in a loving mood. We're a Krishna conscious, love of God movement. There's not karma mimamsa. We're not Arya Samaj. You know what Arya Samaj is? No, you don't know what Arya Samaj is. You do. Arya Samaj means you do your rituals, to chant the Vedic mantras, don't go to see the deities. That's Arya Samaj, right? Then you get liberated. So we're not Arya Samaj. We're not Niyam Agraha. Niyamagraha means just do it and everything will be all right. No, you do everything. Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajahoshi dadasiyat yata pashashi kontiya. Offer with whatever you offer should be done with bhakti or love, voluntarily. So those of you who have some position, like Indra, because no one has a position like Indra. So, except for me. So anyway, I'm like Indra, I got become the GBC, the guru, you know, just all the power positions. John. So then you have to be careful to consider yourself a servant of others. So if Indra has been thinking like that about the residents of Vrindavan, why aren't they offering them puja? Well, because they have that nice boy Krishna. If Indra had been calm, he would have appreciated Krishna's beauty, his pastimes, and then he would have said, "That's fine, better you worship Krishna other than me, because he's God." But instead, he's so, I don't want to use the word envious, but he's so frustrated. Forget about the word envy. Frustrated. So, anyway, so that's the point. We don't have time to go into the other subject matter. That you're not the controller, isn't it? Krishna is Parameshvara. Oh, Parameshvara is also here. He's sitting right there, Parameshvara. So, Krishna is one of my disciples. I'm Surya Parameshvara. So Krishna is Parameshvara. He's the big boss. What is the word for big boss? What? Yeah, label, the big boss. So just remember that. And we're just his servants, and everybody else is equal, everybody else is a servant. We're not better than anyone else. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm not better than any of you. I'm just trying to serve. You're all trying to serve. And we all work cooperatively. And that way we can also avoid different parties. That is, conflicting parties. You know, everyone's just trying to serve. No one's better than anyone else. I mean, because Prabhupada's there. But, you know, we're family. Krishna conscious family. Then there's always happiness and no anxiety, isn't it? Otherwise, life is full, because when you're ashanta, you can never be happy. When you're not peaceful, well, my disciple is bothering you. I'll tell him to go away. So when you're not peaceful, how can you be happy? Isn't it? Without shanti, you can't be happy. But Krishna Bhakta Nishkamata eva shanta. Then one can be happy, peaceful. Okay, enough time. So any questions or comments about any of these things? Who wants to be Indra? Who wants? Anyway, who wants? Oh, he came back. Who wants to be? No one wants to be Indra? Lord Brahma? You get 4 heads. Big management position. Become the CEO. And when you're the CEO of the universe, there's no unions. Like Sumukha's head of the unions. You're the big boss in the universe. So, no questions or comments. Anyway, it's been a nice visit to be here in Fiji with all of you and getting good association and the devotion of the devotees in Fiji. It's just very nice. Very, very nice. So, no questions, comments, arguments? Yes, arguments. No, you have to listen to me. Why are you arguing with me? Yeah.
You see that the egos, when they commit mistake or offense, they come to their senses quickly. But we see that sometimes devotees, they don't repent or regret, or they keep on doing the wrong things.
Yeah, demigods, they seem to come to their senses rather quickly. That is a good point. Whereas we don't. Well, Indra, he really had to suffer for a long. He came to his senses when he attacked when he had a relationship with Ahalya, but he had to suffer for a long time. So Indra makes a lot of mistakes. I mean, if you think about it, one time we were telling the story the other day. Durvasa Muni gave him a garland. And he took the garland and he just gave it to his elephant, Ayurvata. And Ayurvata trampled on it. This is from the 8th canto of Bhagavatam. Ayurvata trampled on the garland, and Indra got cursed, and he lost all the heavenly planets. You know, he keeps doing these stupid things. You hear all these stories. He attacks Maharaj Prithu's fire sacrifice, or the Ashwamedha sacrifice, so many things like that. It doesn't seem to learn. I mean, if you read these stories in the Bhagavatam, it's just again and again and again he's making the same mistake. So he doesn't really rectify himself. So I think that's the same as many of us. We make the same mistake over and over again. Isn't it? I mean, it's just like, it's foolish. Anybody can make a mistake, but if you make the same mistake twice or 3 times, then it's foolish. So devotees do it and demigods do it too. They keep making the same mistakes too. Now that I think about it, Indra he understands, but he keeps doing the same thing over and over. So they're not any better. There's more opportunity for making mistakes. There's more opportunity to think that you're the controller. Yes, Vamsi.
Maharaj, somebody is a Vaishnava and he can do karmakandi activities, productive activities?
No, Vaishnava should not do karmakandi activities. Although, if you're in a particular situation where you can do some puja that will attract people to Krishna consciousness, then go ahead. Sometimes you have to use some transcendental trick to bring people to Krishna consciousness. Do you understand? But this is practical. Chant Hare Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, when he was dealing with hippies, he said, chant Hare Krishna and stay high forever. So for hippies that meant to stay on drugs forever. It's chanting Hare Krishna is better than LSD or marijuana. Okay. Can you imagine? Nowadays I don't talk like that. Because it's a different culture. I won't come here and feed you and say, it's better than marijuana to take. I would say it's better than kava. You become happier with chanting than you can with kava. So that's like a karma kanja type of approach. Become happy. Krishna says in the Gita, Chaturvedam bhajanti. 4 types of people approach me. People looking for wealth, people who are inquisitive, people who are looking for knowledge, or people in distress. So people come for various reasons. So sometimes we have to put a little bait on the hook. That's a fishing example, which probably you don't know about. When people fish here in Fiji, you don't just put the hook there. You have to put, a worm? A frog? Prawn. Oh, prawn. Oh, prawn. Okay. How do you know all this? Oh my God. So, sometimes you have to bait the hook. Or like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, that you have to feed people basmati rice with ghee on it. You understand? He gave the example of a man who couldn't keep his servants. So his friend said, you have to feed your servants basmati. You know what basmati rice is? Good. At least you eat vegetables sometime. So, basmati rice with ghee, and then the servant will never leave you. So Prabhupada did the same thing. Every feast we had ghee in it. And you don't forget the taste of it. Even today, even though I don't take ghee anymore, I cannot forget the taste of the pakoras made with ghee. Nowadays you use motor oil, but that's something different. That's why Sanatan is so successful in his business. I just saw he delivered 3 drums of cooking oil to the temple this morning. I'm joking. But you don't even know what type of oil you're cooking with. It just says vegetable oil. Who knows? what vegetable it is. It could be Ganga apal. I mean, anyway, I won't tell you what that is. Anyway, the fruit of the Ganges, the fruit of the sea, which is a fish. Anyway, so you just, but in the beginning, we took ghee. I remember, I still can taste the pakoras cooked with ghee. I can still taste the malpuras cooked with ghee. I can still taste the puris cooked with ghee. I can still taste the samosas cooked with ghee. You're all getting hungry? I said, let me out of here, it's time for breakfast. So, I'm starting to taste them even now as I'm telling you about it. Because Prabhupada did that to us. He said, kitchen religion. Though obviously after some time you got to become a little renounced. In the beginning, Prabhupada said, you eat so much you cannot move after you've eaten, up to the neck. And we said, oh, Prabhupada instructed us, we have to do it. So we ate like that, and we had to lie on our side for an hour after eating in extreme pain. I remember lying on my side, oh. And the devotee said, lie on your right side, your left side, because your liver is on your right side. And so they had a whole method of dealing with the pain from overeating. Lie on your left side. Okay, so I remember we were lying on the stairs. I overdosed on prasada. So you don't forget those days. Because eating prasada was so nice. People were watching that. That's why I do this. So that's how you make devotees. Through loving exchanges. Dadati pratigranati. Guyat ati prijati. Bhukte bhosyate chaiva. What does that mean? You give prashadam to people. It's more blessed to give than to receive. Right? So that's, I understand here you're famous for giving up prashadam, isn't it? That's nice. And that's one reason why this temple has become very successful now. Because you don't worry. And the people give donations. That's not a problem. People reciprocate like that. They're happy. Prabhupada said the business of the temple leader is more devotees, happier devotees. That's the first priority, first two priorities. More devotees, happier devotees, not more money, happier money. Krishna's not a poor man. He owns everything. Isn't it? Ishavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagacham jagat. It's not a poor man. So just like freely give. And the more you give, the more you have. That's Krishna consciousness. The more prasadam you give, the more you have. Prabhupada was giving out prasadam. Some people were eating 20 rotis at a sitting. And Prabhupada would just keep rolling them. He didn't complain, too many rotis, you know. You're only allowed 3. Right? But Prabhupada he himself, nobody knew how to make rotis. He was just rolling. And people were happy. And now we have a Krishna conscious movement because of that. Prabhupada had nothing else in the beginning. He had himself giving class, no deities, simply himself and Prashadam. That's it. Those 2 ingredients, purity of Prabhupada and Prashadam. And then, look, here we are today, always because of that. Because of Prashadam. People never forget the taste of Prashadam cooked with devotion. Okay. Now I'm talking so much about Prashadam, it must indicate my mentality at this point. You know, just like your mind gets influenced by your desires. So I think it's time for go for breakfast. Prashadam breakfast. Okay, thank you very much. All glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki